Now, this is part one or part A of the KhoodeelaarTV channel being broadcast from London on the internet only. And this part one of Thursday, the 11th of March 2021. What we are doing is continuing to take a look at the front page spin by The Guardian yesterday, Wednesday, the 10th of March 2021, for the lobby that is called the Council's lobby, that is always saying that it has got inadequate funding from the central government. Now, regardless of who the central government is fronted by or what political party so-called, local councils have always been complaining about central government funding being inadequate. So that is not news. That is to say, that is not new, this particular line. But the fact that they're talking about this again and connecting this to the various services that the councils are funded to provide needs to be updated as being a lie, because although they're saying that the National Audit Office, 94% of English councils expect to cut spending next year to meet legal duties to balance budgets amid the coronavirus pandemic. Now, there are about 5 different elements there that The Guardian has put in that summary, which are contradictory. First of all, it's saying that 94% of the English councils, that is, councils in England, not English speaking, in England, in the UK, expect to cut spending next year. So that is a given. That is something that they're not even consulting on or kind of hesitating about. They have already decided that they would cut. 94% of the councils will cut spending on services because they have to comply with legal duties to balance the budget. Now, legal duties to balance the budget is being mentioned there as a blame, that the legal duties are to blame, and suggesting sneakily, that is dishonestly, that if there were no legal duties to balance the budget, then the councils would have had kind of flexibility, or scope and options to take other measures to avoid cutting, or avoid cutting as harshly as they are going to have to, or they're going to do. Now that is contradictory, because they have legal duties not only to balance budget, but also to safeguard children. Remember Shamima Begum and other children, and the legal duties to safeguard so-called adults. And there are so many other legal duties. And in this piece and in this narrative, The Guardian doesn't do that, doesn't acknowledge the whole list of legal duties that the councils are under to provide. And nor does the National Audit Office. We shall discuss more the contents of the bias and the narrative of the National Audit Office report, or National Audit Office stance or position. And all of that, The Guardian, the National Audit Office, and the councils, of course, are in denial, and in denial of the main duties to be accountable to the communities and to serve the communities and to give priorities to the needs of the communities, and not to cite as an excuse the legal duties to balance the budget. Now here I refer to the 12th of March. This is March. And this is March exactly the anniversary. Let's say this is the 11th of March, Thursday. And on 14th of March, I confronted live on air on a satellite channel, which is now defunct for the records. But I confronted Robin Wales, the then incumbent in the corrupt post of the elected mayor. That was 2 days after Roxana Fiaz, then a candidate to replace Robin Wales as the candidate for the Labour Party for election to the corrupt post of elected mayor. She had appeared on that same channel on the 12th of March, which will be tomorrow, Friday, will be the anniversary. So 12th of March, 2018. And I wasn't given any notice, but I was sent an urgent request by the person who presented that program on the 14th of March, 2018. Desperate message saying, pleading with me to appear or help him deal with Robin Wales. So I rushed through, I was in central London or nearabouts, and I rushed through central London in public transport. So it took as long as it took me by public transport, which is not like the speed of the chopper, helicopter or anything. It was quite late and delayed. So I managed to arrive at the studio minutes after the scheduled airing. And they were waiting for me a few minutes, and I arrived there. And that was the preparation. I had no warning, I had no time to check any of the facts or any of the archives or any of the references whatsoever. Based on my previous experience and general knowledge about Robin Wales and the lack of democracy, etc., I said on the program, pointedly, repeatedly, and that was the central theme of my kind of diagnostic analysis of Robin Wales's behavior and conduct and regime at Newham Council over 16 years. He said that it was the central government policy or the conservative policy on housing, right to buy, etc., that had caused the housing shortage and crisis in Newham. And I'm not a conservative, I never have been a conservative, and I don't have any loyalty to any political party in that way. That is to say, at the expense of telling the truth. So I would never, ever kind of take a partisan line on any issue if taking such a line meant any effect or impact on the telling of the truth. And the truth always prevails. So and has prevailed in my action and will continue to prevail in my action. So what happened? Robin Wales introduced the housing crisis in the discussion, not me. And I asked him about his behavior and his kind of anti-democratic, hostile atmosphere, attitude towards some of the campaigning women. And in the course of the discussion and the rejection and rebuttal, I asked him that fine, it is okay, the conservative policy was contributing or causing the crisis or making the crisis worse. But that did not stop him. That never stopped any local council, including Newham, from mounting a legal challenge against that policy according to the constitutional rights. To which Robin Wales replied that he was legally advised against mounting a legal challenge. And I said that is not acceptable. And I said that I needed to see the legal advice, because whatever advice he claimed to have been given was not the complete picture, not the complete story, not the complete story according to the law, according to the legal rights. And so here I am referring to that again in a March about the Guardian and the National Audit Office saying that the councils have a legal duty to balance budgets. I accept that they have a legal duty, but they have got many legal duties. And if the legal duties impede or compromise their actual obligations and deny their population, the electorates and the communities in the borough, the services that the people need, then the legal duties to balance budget should not be isolated as the only legal duty. Those other duties should be put together along with the legal duties, and a sufficient, rigorous campaign through the courts be mounted if the legal duties to balance the budget compromises the council's duties and abilities to deliver the services that the people need. And they haven't done that. And they're not going to do that. Even without reading the actual copy in the Guardian there, the full copy that is, I have read enough parts of it, but not every single word. And it's not necessary, because the substance is there. The legal duty is the blame, that they are putting the blame on the legal duty, and they are hiding the fact that the councils are not challenging the government. The challenge should be mounted against the whole kind of package, if you like, package of duties, and the package of duties being compromised by the legal duty. And that should be mounted through the courts, and the legal duty should be put in context. And the priority should be given to the duties to serve the community and protect the community. And in this context, in our discussion about Tower Hamlets Council betraying the legal duty, if you like, to safeguard Shamima Begum and the other girls, that is the kind of thing that can happen if that kind of duty is given secondary importance or no importance at all. And we shall be discussing more about the council's kind of excuse and pretext that has been highlighted in Wednesday's Guardian's front page. And we shall be doing that in the next part.